matter day tomorrow will bring. You hear the voice of reason telling you this can never be done. No matter how hard reality seems, just hold on to your dreams. Don't give up and don't give in. Although it seems you never win, you will always pass the test as long as you keep your head to the sky. You can win as long as you keep your head to the sky. Be optimistic. You will always do your best. If you learn to never say never, you may be down, but you're not out. Don't give up and don't give in. Although it seems you never win, you will always pass the test as long as you keep your head to the sky. You can win as long as you keep your head to the sky. You can win as long as you keep your head to the sky. You can win, yes, as long as you keep your head to the sky. You can win, yes, as long as you keep your head to the sky. Be optimistic. Gotta be optimistic. Gotta be optimistic. Gotta be optimistic. Gotta be optimistic. May our hearts be open. 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 May our hearts be open.
Father, Mother, God, Goddess, we welcome you amongst us today as we celebrate the gift of life that you have given each of us. We ask that you would open our ears so that we may hear your voice. Open our minds so that we may receive your eternal wisdom. Open our spirits so that we may know your leading and guidance. The place where we meet God is within ourselves, the inner sanctuary, the heart temple. We can retreat to this inner sanctuary anytime, anywhere, as we do so today. We gather in your presence today with open hearts and minds as we ask that you bless this time of worship so that we may be uplifted and inspired by your presence. Fill us with your love and grace and help us to honor you in all that we do. With grateful hearts and thanking you for the gift of life, health, and the opportunity to gather together in your name, we pray that you bless this service, and may your presence be felt in every aspect of it. Amen. Hallelujah. And so it is.
All right, here we go. All right. Okay. I ain't got my remote.
So do you have to hold that or?
Here we go.
I'm not worried about tomorrow. Today I'm declare freedom from yesterday, mistake of the past.
Today all things are made brand new.
And don't it feel good to know that
All is well and unfolding as it should.
I can change my reality by changing my mind. Perfect peace, joy, and happiness is yours and it's mine.
I am loved and so are you.
And don't it feel good to know
All is well and unfolding as it should. All is well. All is well.
divine spirit is directing you right now.
Unfolding as it should.
I am cloaked in the spirit. I am fed by love divine.
I am one with all there is. My soul is free from time. I am blessed and so are you. And don't it feel good to know that? Don't it feel good? Just to know that my soul is free from time. All that's ever do is change my mind. I'm free. Don't it feel good? And unfolding as it should. All right. That's it, y'all. She's done. All right.
What comes from the heart reaches the heart. Good morning and welcome to our Heartstream for this Sunday, February the 9th, 2025. I know it's Super Bowl Sunday. For many of you, you are anticipating tonight's game, and I know it'll be a good time. But in the midst of all of this, I know also that there is a lot that is concerning us, a lot that is on our minds, the constant flood of information, the news about actions that are taking place that are detrimental to so many and so much. And it's easy to feel overwhelmed. It's easy to feel like that nothing is happening on our behalf. And I'm just here. I know that I am in that number as well. And yet I'm looking for and I'm finding ways in which we can have hope against hope, and to do the things that we need to do. Again, relying upon our faith, not a spiritual bypass, but relying on our faith to pull us through, to provide us with the strength, provide us with the guidance and the wisdom to know what it is that we need to know and to do what it is that we need to do. Thank you always for joining us for this Heartstream. It means so much when you do. Thank you for your financial gifts and contributions. It helps us to sustain this and keep it going. And please do what you can to get the news out to others so that they know about Open Heart, that we know about this Heartstream. In addition to that, because again, we have this wonderful, wonderful partnership with Open Heart and Unity Christian Church of Memphis. And so those of you that are in the Memphis area, I invite you to come out and join us today as we share with Unity Christian Church. Some people just say, well, John is speaking, but it's more than just John speaking. It is about us being a part of that family, the two families working together in a synergistic way, the strengths of both communities contributing to the well-being of both communities. That's how I see it. And there are different things that are happening where this is unfolding. I've mentioned to those of you that the platform assistant opportunities that are there. If you'd like to be a platform assistant there at Unity next Sunday, beginning at 1 p.m. following the morning service, there will be a training from 1 to 3. There'll be some food provided for an opportunity to go through the things that you would need to know to be a platform assistant. We already have 3 people from Open Heart who have volunteered to do that. And if there are any others of you, to let me know and then to be there next Sunday. It's a wonderful opportunity. Already on our morning prayer call, one of the members of Unity Christian, Ella Aji, is participating every Monday. She offers the prayers along with the other members of our prayer team. She's a part of our prayer team now in this, and there are going to be other ways that you'll hear about that the two communities are working together. And as always, I greet you, I bless you, I see God in you.
Our affirmation for the month of February: divine strength. Divine strength is my spiritual name and nature. I am centered in truth during times of instability. I appreciate my limitless power to stay strong in all circumstances. I am spiritual strength, stable, courageous, and tenacious. Amen, Ashe, and so it is.
Today is a day like no other day. Just think and you'll know that it's true. Days like today should be holidays. So I'm singing this message to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Just have a happy day.
There are several ways to give to Open Heart: through our Cash App at OHSC901, online at OHSC901.com, or text the word GIVE to 615-422-4290.
A powerful way to start or continue your day is with our daily prayer call. Each morning at 8 a.m. Central Time, a prayer team member provides an inspirational reading and an affirmative prayer. Join us at 901-586-8755.
Join us at 11 a.m. for the Sunday celebration at Unity Christian Church. We'd love to have you come out, 3345 McCorkle Road. And if you're not able to be here in person, you can also watch the service at unitychristianchurch.us, the website. Love to see you. This collaboration between these two magnificent congregations. Black history is a part of history year-round. But traditionally in the month of February, we highlight the accomplishments of Black Americans and beyond. And courtesy of the Center for Spiritual Living in Dallas, we are featuring the pioneers and evolutionaries of science of mind. Hope you enjoy.
Here's a little-known Black history science of mind fact. Meet Sarah Flowers, a prolific African-American writer of science of mind books in the 1940s. Flowers was a writer, publisher, metaphysician, frequent speaker, and teacher of the science of mind. She took the major course at the Institute of Religious Science in Los Angeles in 1937 and wrote her first book, Common Sense and Its Application in Everyday Life, in 1941. Other books followed, including The Metaphysical Thesaurus and Metaphysical Dictionary, Should I Pay for Metaphysical Treatment, and Atomic Metaphysics, The Electrical Principle of Man. In Atomic Metaphysics, she writes, "In metaphysics, we must then recognize that there is a power that revolves in and around, out and beyond us, at a rate equal to the atomic energy in our material beings." But it's important to note what Sarah Flowers considered her most important work: teaching practitioners metaphysical treatment for all of the problems that confront us today. You might think Science of Mind's inclusive teachings of oneness would be immune to America's history of racial segregation, but that was not the case. Dr. J. Arthur Twine founded Eastside Church of Religious Science in his home in 1932. The congregation quickly grew and became the third church to be ordained and chartered by Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science. It was a thriving multiracial church, but in 1945, Third Church of Religious Science, as it was now called, was moved to the bottom of the church listings in Science of Mind magazine and noted as a colored church. Ernest Holmes found this unacceptable and went to speak to church members. He said, "I have been told that too many non-Caucasians attend these lectures. True, there are Caucasians and non-Caucasians in this congregation, but this we must affirm. We are all children of one living God, one God that permeates all without exception, one intelligence that governs all, and most important, every man and woman who abides in the universe is a significant entity in the one universal consciousness. Our doors will forever be open to all. Whoever you are, be proud. You are a divine idea in the mind of God." The magazine staff immediately corrected this error and returned to listing churches alphabetically. The following year, Dr. Twine made his transition, but the church remains strong today as Third Church Center for Spiritual Living. A number of Dr. Twine's descendants became practitioners, lay leaders, and ministers, including his great-granddaughter, Reverend Stacy Hilton, who currently serves as co-spiritual director of the Las Vegas Center for Spiritual Living. Dr. J. Arthur Twine and Sarah Flowers, Black evolutionaries in Science of Mind.
Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Be careful what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. My words are prayers, and I am always praying. My words are prayers. I'm careful what I'm saying.
always there. And every thought becomes a prayer.
Open our eyes. I know that right now, with all of the things that are happening, with the flood of news and stories of actions taking place and all of the things that are detrimental to so many of us, and I don't want to downplay any of that because it is definitely a cause for concern. It's definitely something that we have to do some things, take the steps that we can to take actions and all of that. But there's a sense and a feeling of overwhelm, a sense of feeling outnumbered, that the odds are against us, that can happen in this moment. And I want to talk about that today. I just want to take some time and to deal with this because I'm dealing with my own feelings. And I just want to share with you the process that I'm going through, the things that I'm dealing with and talking about. And a lot of it has to do with the story that is found in 2 Kings chapter 6. And we have the story of Elisha, one of the prophets. In fact, he's probably one of my favorite prophets. And this particular story is where Israel and Aram, or now modern day Syria, were at war with one another. And the king of Aram was perplexed because it seemed like every time they got ready to make a move, Israel was one step ahead. They seemed to know what was going to happen, and they were always one step ahead. And he felt like that there was somebody that was betraying him. And so as he began asking, who is it that is betraying me? Who is it? We must have a mole or somebody that is sharing this information. And they said to him, it's nobody here. It's the king of Israel has that prophet Elisha, that God tells Elisha information and he shares it with the king. So much so that even the things you say in your bedchamber, Elisha knows. And so the king of Aram decides, well, he's going to have to do something about this man Elisha. And so he sends his army in search of him. And it just so happens that Elisha and his attendant decide, as they are traveling, to stop overnight in Dothan. And Dothan, metaphysically, means a divine law. One of the meanings of his divine law, literally it means double well, but it's also about divine law. And Elisha being, the I am consciousness. But what I want to talk about today is not Elisha, but Elisha's attendant. Because for me, the way that his attendant must have felt in this situation, because what happened is that particular next morning, the attendant wakes up. And as he does so, he notices that the army of Aram had come in overnight and had the city surrounded. And there they were, outnumbered. The odds were against him. He was feeling overwhelmed. And as he was taking it all in and the realization hit him as to what was happening, he went to Elisha and he gives him the news that we're surrounded. What are we going to do? And Elisha says to him, there's more with us than there are with them. There's more with us than there are with them. And think about it for a moment. I put myself in the attendant's place. And as I do, I could just imagine that feeling that he had. I can imagine that even in the pit of his stomach, how he felt in that moment when he realized that they were surrounded and that they were outnumbered. And I'm probably sure that Elisha's words to him that there are more with us than there are with them didn't quite make sense in that particular moment. But what Elisha does is that he prays and asks that his attendant's eyes would be open. And as he prays and does so, sure enough, they were open. And as the attendant's eyes are suddenly open, and in this case, his spiritual eyes, so that he could see beyond the appearance and see beyond what is there. And as he does so, he sees all in the mountains, there are armies of angels with horses and chariots of fire, as the scripture describes it. And there's a whole lot of meaning and things involved in that. But in that case, what happens is his eyes are open. He begins to understand what it is that Elisha had told him when he made the statement that there are more with us than there are with them. And then the story goes on that Elisha prays again, and the armies of Aram's eyes are closed, and they lead them into the city of Samaria. Once they get there, he prays again, their eyes are open, and they discover that they now are surrounded and that they now are outnumbered. And but they don't harm them, but the story goes on. But back to the attendant to Elisha and how he must have felt in that particular situation and what must have been going on with him in that circumstance. And sometimes when we feel overwhelmed, sometimes when we feel like the odds are against us, sometimes when we feel like we are outnumbered, it might be that we have to rely upon the faith of others in those situations and circumstances. That's right. Sometimes that we might feel that our faith is not as strong. As you heard me talk about just very recently, that story where the man says to Jesus, I believe, but help my unbelief. That sometimes we just need to be able to rely upon the faith of someone else. And in that situation and circumstance, we can find ourselves in that place. And it is because of someone's faith that we can begin to believe. And it's important to have that person, that partner in believing, as I like to talk about. And I don't take credit for that idea, but I know that the teacher, Mary Morrissey, talks about an incident or in the beginning of her journey into the whole idea of learning New Thought and becoming a New Thought teacher, when she found herself as a teenager in the hospital with getting ready for surgery. One of her kidneys was already necrotic. It was damaged. It was hopeless. The other was there was very little left for it, and she was going to have surgery, but she was afraid because her prognosis was not a good one. And she remembers that particular night that there was a chaplain that came into the room. And as she began talking to her, she could tell, the chaplain could tell that Mary was frightened, feeling overwhelmed, and she began to talk to her. But she said she talked to her in a different way than anything else she had ever heard in her life, who talked about the power of making decisions and talked about how her life was at the point where it was in that moment because of decisions she had made. But the fact of it is that it wasn't too late. There was an opportunity to, as we hear, to change her thinking and change her life. And Mary didn't quite, believe that, but she was saying, well, can you just see the surgery that you're going to have happen to be successful and things happen to you? And if you could just take all of the guilt and everything else that had happened to you because she had become pregnant as a teenager, if you could take all of that and put that into that kidney, and when they take it out tomorrow, that it will be gone and you move on to a new reality in your life. And she says to her, do you believe that's possible? And Mary replies to the chaplain, well, I'm not quite sure of that. And she says to her, well, can you believe in my belief? Because I believe that it is possible. And so she went on to say, well, I will do what I can to believe in your belief. And when she had a prognosis that wasn't a good one, there was in the story, the surgery was successful. She went on to live her life and become this New Thought teacher and to learn the lessons of all of that as a result. But when I think about that and think about believing in someone else's belief, that partner in believing, that is someone who knows the truth for you. And we talk about holding the space, who holds the space for you, even when you can't know the truth for yourself, even when you are oftentimes unable to see it in that moment because things seem so looming, things seem so large and overwhelming, and you feel outnumbered. Someone who can be your partner in believing, someone who can pray on your behalf. I think about the song many of you are familiar with. Somebody prayed for me. They had me on my mind. They took the time to pray for me. I'm so glad they did. I'm so glad they did. I'm so glad somebody prayed for me. It's so vitally important for us to understand that that is a possibility, to have someone to hold the space for us. And when they do, we have that partner in believing, then that becomes vitally important. I'm inspired by the stories of people that I call these heroes of faith, people who are able to believe and after believing on their faith. And in the book, Your Aladdin's Lamp, which is a story of New Thought people, New Thought principles. And one of the authors of that book, Harlan Ware, who was a contemporary of Ernest Holmes at the time, he and Bill Hornaday. But Harlan Ware tells the story of being new to the whole teachings and idea of New Thought. And he had just bought a home, and his home was up in a mountainous region, and it overlooked the lake, and they were very, very pleased with that. But in the front yard was this massive boulder, and every time they looked out, they saw the boulder. Every time they tried to get the view that had attracted them, there was the boulder. Every time they tried to see things, there was the boulder. And so they had some construction workers to try and remove the boulder, but every time they would take their shovels and try to dig, the shovels would just shatter. He talked about, one time that he heard the sound that sounded like a shotgun, and it happened to be one of the shovels of the workmen breaking. So he gave up and he started talking to one of his friends who was a practitioner, who said, I'm going to treat for you. I'm going to pray for you that things are going to be well. There's going to be a solution to this particular situation and circumstance. I'm going to hold the space for you. Harlan Ware admits that he was still skeptical. He was still learning these things, but he trusted in his belief. And as he did so, he says there was a particular day they were sitting in the house. They heard a car driving up the driveway to their home. They knew, they lived in a kind of secluded area. That's one of the things that attracted them. And as they walked outside, they met some people who identified themselves as their neighbors. And they shared with them the fact that there was a boat race that was going on in the lake, and they were trying to get the best view because their daughter's boyfriend was competing in the race. And so as he was standing there, he noticed the big boulder. He noticed the shattered shovels that were there and said to Harlan Ware, says, "Look like you've got a problem here. Looks like you've got a boulder you all been trying to get moved and it's not happening for you." And Ware explained, "That's exactly right. That's what's happening for us right now." The man says to him, "Well, I could use something like this in my yard. I have a place for it. And if you don't mind," he said, "I have some construction workers in my house that have the heavy machinery that's there that will be able to move this. And if you'd like, I can take it off your hands." And sure enough, the next morning, they heard early in the morning the trucks coming up and the machinery coming up through the driveway. They took the time, they got the boulder out the way, put it on a flatbed truck and hauled it off. And he realized that indeed that had happened for him. And he understood in that moment what it meant to trust in the belief of others when you can't yourself. The second thing that I think is important in this moment is to understand that when we rely on the faith of others, when we are not in a case where we can necessarily see our way clear, but we rely on the faith of others, our vision can begin to expand. Our vision can begin to expand. The vision of Elijah's attendant expanded as his eyes were open. And for me, talking about our eyes being open and going back to metaphysical, because metaphysical literally means beyond the physical, we can begin to see that there's more to life than what the five senses are capable of experiencing or capable of informing us of, that there's more to life that we can see beyond that. That's why oftentimes you will hear me talk about New Thought, ancient wisdom, because it is the ancient wisdom of our ancestors. It is the ancient wisdom of people who have gone before us, who have always known that there is more to life than what it is that we can see and experience. And they have been constantly guiding us and providing us with that awareness and that understanding. But in this case, that when our vision gets expanded, we can begin to see beyond the physical, see beyond what is there. And that is what happened in this particular case, and being able to see beyond what things look like. We are in the midst of Black History Month, and I know that there are attempts to try and obscure Black history and erase it and all of that, but it's important for us to continue to tell the stories and to uphold the idea of Black history being North American history, and understanding that. And the story that I share often is about my drive to Tuskegee University one day when I was going to a conference there. And as I was driving, I heard this voice inside say to me, "Roll down your windows, turn off your music." And as I did so, I heard something else. And that voice again told me to pull over. So I stopped and I pulled over, and I heard it. I heard it. All of a sudden, I heard this sound and I got this feeling. And the only way that I could describe it, and I know when I talk about it, people might look at me like I'm crazy or something else. But as I was saying the other day to someone, I've had these mystical experiences in my life, and that was one of them, that I began to hear. It was as the trees and the grass and the crops were all singing, that they were declaring their connection with all that is. They were, if you will, singing songs of praise, if you will, being a part of the universe. But I heard that. And for me, I also thought back, going back to where I bring Black History Month in and Black History period in, is because I think about it was no accident that in that particular area that I had that particular experience, because that is where George Washington Carver did a lot of his work there at Tuskegee. And one of the things that Carver said is, I love to think of nature as God's broadcasting system that broadcasts to us every hour if we would only tune in, or if we would only listen. I know I'm paraphrasing, but the idea that Carver was talking about is that we are connected to something that is larger than we are. And as we do so, it provides us with an awareness and provides us with a knowing. It provides us with a sense of connection, and it provides us with a sense of hope. And so when we feel these feelings, seem like these things are happening, when we can begin to understand that we are connected to something beyond where we are now. Again, Howard Thurman's, there's a strength beyond our strength that gives strength to our strength. When we can understand that, we can know the true meaning of what it is to know that there is more with us than there are with them. I think about, as we allow our vision to expand, as we allow ourselves to see beyond the physical and to find hope and to find awareness in this moment, about the story of the farmer who was looking to hire a farmhand. And as he interviewed various people, there was one young man who stuck out in his mind, because as he talked with him and he asked him, why should I hire you? And his response to him was, I can sleep through a storm. He found that to be a kind of odd saying, but there was something about him that made him say, I'm going to give this young man a try. I'm going to give him a chance. I'm going to give him an opportunity. A few days after hiring him, it became very obvious and evident that a storm was coming up. And the farmer got out of his bed because it was in the evening. He could hear the thunder in the distance. He could see the lightning flashing also in the distance. And so as he got up, he wondered where his new hire was, and he discovered him asleep. And he was almost enraged in that moment. But as he started to walk around and he walked over into his house, saw the fireplace, there was a roaring fire in the fireplace, and there was firewood that was neatly stacked next to it. He walked out into his barnyard, and as he did so, he saw that all of the animals were put up safely, and there was hay and food for them to eat. He saw the other things that were fastened down and all of that, and he realized in that moment what the saying of the farmhand, that I could sleep through a storm, really truly meant, because he had already made the preparation. He had already done the work. He had already done the things so that when the storm came, he was able to do what it was that he was able to do. And our true nature is ultimately we are connected to that which continues to do the work and continues to make the way, even sometimes when it doesn't feel like it, or even sometimes when it doesn't seem like it. That as we understand that there is a connection, and there's that connection for us, that as the storms of life are surrounding us, and that as things are happening that will overwhelm us, that we are connected, and we begin to understand then in this moment divine mathematics. So while we might feel outnumbered, while we might feel like the odds are against us, while we might feel that we are alone, we can understand that we and all that is, that we and God, we in divine connection equals a majority every time. That's where my hope is. That's why I hope that you will bring your hope, and we can be partners in believing for one another to get us through these times, partners in believing for one another to help us to know that we know that we know that we're going to make it, that we're going to get through. There'll be some rough days ahead, but it's going to be all right. Peace and abundant blessings. Amen. Ashe. And so it is.
I am a child of this universe. The ocean dances at my feet. The wind plays a melody through my hair. I am loved at every turn. I am kissed by Mother. I am a child of this universe. The sun warms me in its embrace. The stars have a light for me in the sky. I am honored by all life. I am held by Father Time. Every blade of grass, every shaking leaf on the tree, every mountain top sings of the glory of God moving through me, moving through you. Oh. I am a child of this universe. Through my breath, all of life can breathe. I plant the seeds with my every dream. I can